There we go. Continuing on our 5-topic conversation. So far, we've talked about lead generation and lead conversion. Second, we talked about lead follow-up. Third, using previews to build relationships. And today we're going to talk about creating emotional proximity. Now, when you are lead generating, you are marketing or you're prospecting and you are creating leads, whether you are proactively creating those leads by going out and looking for people who want to buy or sell through previewing, or you have people who are contacting you through marketing, you're generating leads. Now, the next step in that process is to determine where they are. If they're ready, willing, and able, you schedule an appointment, you go get the listing, or you convert the buyer consultation to a buyer agreement, and you start showing homes in order to get them under contract. However, if they are 3 months out, 6 months out, 9 months, a year, whatever that may be, then you're going to need systematic follow-up in order to create emotional proximity, in order to be the real estate agent that they hire when they get serious. So let's see if getting the whiteboard in the picture here. I guess that's pretty good. And you've seen this before. And the conversation is the value of a lead. So on the day the lead closes, if your average commission check is $10,000, the value of that lead is $10,000. Now, the very next day, that same lead is probably worth zero, unless they're an investor and they're going out to buy another house the next day, then the value is zero. Now, what typically happens is real estate agents get a lead, and if they get a lead here, in other words, this is the next time that they're going to close, all right? They're years away from being ready to close. Most real estate agents look at this and they would call it a bad lead. And unfortunately, way too many times it goes in the trash. Matter of fact, there's real estate coaches and coaching companies who are actually teaching you to do this. They're encouraging you to do this. And my strategy would be there's no such thing as a bad lead. If the value of the lead was $10,000 when it closes, then the value of this lead is also $10,000, just not yet. Now, if you got a lead right here, in other words, this person is 30 days away from being ready to buy or sell, everybody would say that's a great lead. I'd agree with you, it's a great lead. And here's what we know. Every 7 to 10 years, people are going to sell their home and move on average. And if you get a lead here, bad lead. If you get a lead here, good lead. And my perspective is they're both great leads. Matter of fact, they're both worth $10,000. So what do? Well, first of all, you need a system. And I had a conversation with a couple of real estate agents yesterday, and this was a big part of the conversation is, what is the system? Well, before I discuss systems with you, let's look at follow-up and how this works in breaking it down into 3 different sections. So everything left of this line is lead generation. This is the time that you have blocked every day in order to create new leads, to make sure that you've got all their contact information so that it qualifies as a lead. You're going to connect. Then you're going to close for an appointment. If they're ready to buy, if they're ready to sell, you're going to close for an appointment. If they're not ready, then they go into nurture, which means now they're in your database and you have a system to follow up with them. Now, everything to the right of this line is transaction management. This is what you do once somebody says we're ready and they hire you. And this is the process that you use to get that listing under contract and closed. It's the process that you use in order to get your buyer under contract and close. So you have to master lead generation, you have to master transaction management, and there's this area in the middle here that's called follow-up. And mastering lead generation and transaction management without mastering follow-up is going to lead to failure. This is critically important. Now, in order to follow up effectively, you need a system. In other words, use a database, use a CRM. What's the best one? The one you will use. What's the database that I use? kvCORE. I think it's pretty good. And again, really doesn't matter to me. Whatever database you'll use is the right database. Now, once you've created a lead and you want to systematically follow up with them, then you're going to enter that lead into your database. You're going to enter them in there as a new MET. You're going to communicate with them 8 times in 8 weeks in order to create top of mind. So when they think of real estate, they think of you. And if they're not ready yet, you're going to move them into your sphere of influence. That means they know you, they like you, they know you're a real estate agent, and if they were going to buy or sell, they would probably work with you. That doesn't have to be indefinite. Now, follow up. So we're going to follow up once a week for 8 weeks. That's your 8x8. After that, how often you follow up depends on, are they an A buyer, A seller, B buyer, B seller, or C buyer, or C seller? An A buyer is somebody, or an A seller is somebody who is going to list their home in the next 60 to 90 days. Let's say 30 to 90 days. Now, a B buyer or seller is somebody who is 90 days to 6 months. And a C is 1 day. And how often you follow up with them is going to depend, are they a B, or a C? If they're an A buyer or seller, I'm going to call them once every other week for the next 2 months. So now I'm 3 months in, and I've called once a week, every week for 8 weeks. And then I'm going to call once every other week until I get to 3 months. And then after that, it's once a month. Now, this once a month doesn't have an end. It doesn't stop. No matter what they say, it doesn't stop. The only reason it stops is if they sold their home, bought another home with another real estate agent, or they listed with another real estate agent, then you can stop. Now, they may sound unmotivated. Matter of fact, they probably will. They may tell you that they're never going to hire you, or they already have a real estate agent. And if you start judging, you're going to stop calling. And unfortunately, what happens so often is somebody will stop calling right here, and they're literally weeks away from that person reaching that point where they get serious. All right, that's this line right here. This is the moment I get serious about selling my home. This is the moment I get serious about buying my home. And your goal in this process is to create emotional proximity. Now, emotional proximity works everywhere. I'll give you a couple of examples. You go to the department store, the person greets you at the door, they ask you, how are you doing, and how may I help you? And you respond like practically every other person on the face of the planet with, I'm just looking. Now, if this person is skilled at their job, they're going to give you their name. Hi, I'm John. May I ask your name? You're Lonnie. Lonnie, nice to meet you. I'll be right over here folding clothes. If there's anything you need, I'm a few steps away. Now, again, if I'm skilled at my job, 2 or 3 minutes later, I'm just going to check in with Lonnie and see how she's doing and if she has any questions. She's probably going to say, I'm still just looking. No problem. I'll be over here folding clothes. If there's anything you need, I'm just a few steps away. Now, it was 2 to 3 minutes last time. Now it's 5 minutes. And I'm going to check in and I'm going to say, I noticed that you're looking at blank. I just wanted to let you know we have the following sales going on. And is there anything I can do to help you? No, I'm still just looking. They might even sound frustrated. It's okay. You're being pleasantly persistent. You're moving across this line until you get to this place right here. And now that person in that department store has a brand new suit in their hand. And you're walking over to check on them and they're like, oh, I'm so glad you're here. I've got this suit that I want to try on. Where do I go? Or if you're not there at that moment, they're going to come looking for you because you created emotional proximity. They know who you are. You've created emotional proximity by being close to them when they got serious. That's the key. That moment they get serious about selling their home, that moment where they get serious about buying a home, you're the obvious choice because you're closest to them. As a matter of fact, you might be the only choice because you're the only one who's still following up with them. All of the other real estate agents who were also interested in working with them gave up somewhere on this line, and you didn't. And now they're ready to sell their home. And you get the listing simply because you're the only one left. You created emotional proximity by being pleasantly persistent. Now, what's the power in this? Oh my gosh. Let's say that you're creating one new lead a day. You work 250 days a year. You have 250 people in this follow-up cycle. 250 people that you're creating emotional proximity with. Let's say that just 20% of them hire you. The other 80% don't. Did you fail? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no because 250 times 20% is 50. You got 50 sales simply by creating one lead a day and then following up systematically in order to create emotional proximity. Now, what if it's just one lead a week? Okay, so that's 50. I'm giving everybody 2 weeks off. That's 50 leads. And you're systematically following up with those 50 and 20% hire you. There's 10 sales. You made $100,000 creating one lead a week, one, and then systematically following up with them to create emotional proximity. Whatever the number is, you have total control over that. I want you to hear that. The number of leads you create is not a goal, it's a choice. Because you're the only one who chooses when you stop. If you have a standard for creating one new lead a day, you have a standard for moving one new lead per day into follow-up. It's a choice. It's not a goal because you're the only one who can choose to stop. Now you've got 250. And again, how many of those you convert to a listing or a buyer is a choice. It's not a goal because you're the only one who can choose to stop following up. If you focus on the activities will always lead to the results you want. If you focus on the results, you're going to get discouraged and you're going to give up. Focus on the activities, choose to succeed, don't choose to fail. Where'd you go? Oh, there you are. That's a wrap.